All right. We are here back yet again, folks. Otra vez on another flight. Dre Sanchez YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me as always. I enjoy doing this. This gives me great relief in my life. It's a de-stressor, believe it or not. So without further ado, we are flying this A350-900XWB from Seattle, Washington, all the way up to Anchorage, Alaska. And I was born in Anchorage, ironically, product of a military family. So we're going back up, and we're going to do some crazy flying in Alaska once we get up there on future flights. We're going to be taking small turboprops into the smaller airports, and we're going to really dig into Alaska and flying some of that beautiful scenery. But for the time being, we are on the VATSIM network, and it's a 3-hour and 3-minute flight. We're flying Delta Airlines Flight 318 with service from Seattle, Tacoma to Ted Stevens in Anchorage, Alaska, which is also an international airport, and it's used a lot for trans-Pacific flights to Asia, Europe, whatever the case may be, for cargo planes and companies to fly in and out of there. So here we go. Another disclaimer. I most certainly had a most horrible, my worst recorded landing on my Dre Sanchez was in this plane from Jamaica to Mexico some time ago. But we'll see if we do a better job. And I have the landing rate monitor on here, so you guys are going to keep me honest. And hopefully we do a good enough job to get this bird on the ground. So let's take this challenge together and let's jump on board. Everything is cold and dark. So here we go. All right, we are on board this cold and dark aircraft, of course, and let's just bring this thing to life. So in order to do that, the initial first interfaces that we are going to work with are these here, and I'm going to really explain everything as I go along. That might help me remember what to do as well. So let's get ready. But as you see here, nothing is on in the aircraft. Everything is cold and dark. It's a quite large cockpit here, and it's fully automated. And of course the Airbuses have the side stick versus the normal flight controls, the yoke and everything in the middle. This thing has checklists, so this is just going to be a monumental flight. There is ATC right now, but by the time we get this thing up and running, I don't know if they'll be there. I want to focus more on the flight. If ATC happens to be around, which we would love, then we'll definitely use them. If not, we will get ourselves out of here accordingly. So without further ado, let us jump up top and start getting the batteries on so we can just orientate ourselves again. When you look up top, don't be so scared of it. Each panel has its own specific purpose. And so right now we want to most certainly find the electrical panel. Not a big deal. And we want to get the batteries all on. So here's battery 1, of course, and battery 2. Now you can start hearing the aircraft coming alive. So we're going to turn on all the emergency batteries and everything up here. We're also going to hit this avionics, the gate link. We'll leave those off for now. So this is very, very in depth here. And the bus tie, we're going to put that to auto. Now what we need to do to make sure we have ground power, now that you can see this option is up, what we're going to do here is we're going to click on the ground service, and we're going to go to ground equipment, and we're going to put the ground power unit 1 on the left side on. Now we're going to come back up top and accept the available ground power. The bus tied automatically, so now we are good to go. The generators will stay off. Let's go ahead and put the AC bus on so the rest of the aircraft equipment can come on. Oxygen, we can turn that on. And of course, we want the IRS to start aligning immediately. So what we have to do is we simply have to come up here and we need to put these in the nav modes. So these, I believe, are one. You got to pull it over. Let's see. There we go. There's always something different in each aircraft how it interfaces. So now we're putting those on, and of course we also need to turn all of these switches on. And of course we are going to come up here. These are off by default. The hydraulic pumps, we'll get them on as well. The vent and the cooling cabin fans, we can get those on. These are the when they say fault but off, that means they'll automatically come on. So these will automatically supposedly come on the drive. We'll double check the hydraulic pumps to make sure they do that, because honestly folks, I do not remember 100%, so we're going to struggle with this together. Now that we have all that power on, let's come back over here to this interface. Now, in order to fuel the aircraft, we have to make sure that everything is actually open as far as the doors and the hatches. So we're going to put the passenger bus there. We need to also, we're going to put the fuel truck there, and the stairs, of course. We can keep the chocks there. We need to get the luggage loader going on. High pressure unit, we don't need any of that. Now we need to come over here and go to doors and hatches, and we can go into essentially just basically open them up. If we go into the load configuration, it's automatically going to open up what we need opened up. Okay, we're not going to worry about the pushback because we can get pushback with the better pushback here, but if we needed to push back, this is what we would do, and we could actually steer the tug on this one, which is kind of a cool feature. Now we need to get out of this menu because we need to basically load the aircraft. Let's go over to options here. There's one way where we can show passengers on there. Let's see, drop pilots, pop-up type. This is, again, this interface here on this page, this is just a flight simulator interface. This is not a real window, this particular window right here, or the ground services really. In a real life they would have different pages, but again, we are in a simulation world, so we need to make that happen. And of course here, the transition altitude here in the United States is 18,000 feet. Now one thing that we want to do is come here, and we need to start getting the aircraft to where the let's see here, active. Let's figure out, we need to get rid of this. Let's see, perf. Okay, initialization is what we need. Now we need to go ahead and type in our flight plan so the IRSs can start aligning. So here's flight number, so we are going to do from and to. So from, now this is a cool thing, we can actually just type this in. We're going from Seattle, and then of course we are going to go to Pank, and then if you just click off of there, that's off. Alternate request, let's see, let's come here. I still don't see, let's okay, there, now it's on there. Let's see, perf IRS. So now we're going to click on the IRS and freeze all IRS. Okay, so now this is the cool thing about it. It is aligning. It will be available in 6 minutes. So now IRS will be aligning on the GPS position. So we've hit that. So now the IRS should be basically aligning. And as you can see here, there is a very thorough checklist here, which we'll go through. But, you know, I'm probably just going to start at the before pushbacks and start. Although if we come here, the power up and everything, you could literally do this, but I don't want to go that far in depth. So we'll just stick here with the normal procedures and just know it's here. We will be doing some of it. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of stuff to do with this aircraft that will get figured out. But let's come back over here now, folks. And again, I was looking for, let's see, draw pilots outside only, which is cool. Cursor. I was looking to see if we can get passengers like in the plane for my own little brain. But you know what? No big deal. Let's go over here and let's get the airplane. Let's see, ground service. Let me make sure. Do the pushback. Okay. So we have to go to airplane, I believe, for the fuel. So first of all, let's get the passengers. Let's see. So we definitely, you know, in this day and age, a heavy aircraft is more or less the standard, simply because no airline is wasting fuel. So either what they do is they either fly a smaller aircraft because larger aircraft have empty seats, so they're not wasting any fuel, so they'll fly it on a smaller aircraft and more or less overbook that aircraft, so they're making sure they're getting their money's worth on each flight because they're all overbooked. So there's no way we'll be flying in this day and age and not flying an aircraft this size and not fully put the full amount of payload and passengers on there. So we're going to do it because that's really the way it would happen in real life at this point. All right, now here is a most interesting fuel loadout. and you can see it's very specific. So essentially what I'm going to do, just let me share this with you really quick. All of my fuel, as if you see here, destination, alternate, contingency, APU time, taxi time, takeoff, remaining fuel. I'm going to get that from here. There's a trip. Here's our contingency. Here's our alternate airport. Here's our final reserves. This also will give us, let's see here, usually it gives us taxi time and APU time, and extra fuel, 1,000, all that good stuff. So I'm going to use these numbers from this in order to plug it in here from the flight plan. So you're going to be like, what is he doing? I'm just letting you know. So to our destination, it's a calculated 16,032 to the field. So we're going to type in 16,032. Okay, and I might just call this a tutorial flight. Okay, so that's in there. Oh, so we have to enter it. So 16,032, enter. Okay, now we need to plug in the alternate, and that's another 1979. So 1979, enter. Okay, now we're going to look for the contingency fuel, which was another 1,303 kilograms. The APU time aggregated between now and then, I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to be using the APU, let's say 40 minutes. Because you never know with me, I might. Taxi time, they usually give you, let's see, taxi off fuel. That's the final fuel. So taxi, they're only doing like 499 kilograms. So taxi time, let me see if they do that in minutes as well. Taxi time 434. So there's really no, okay, so the taxi time they give is 20 minutes. APU, so taxi time will also give ourselves 25 minutes. You know what? I just know myself. Let's hit enter there. So far fuel on board is 21,024. We're pretty close because the block fuel for this is 22,929. Of course, I also added some additional fuel. So if I add that 1,000 pounds in, so I'm going to add about, let's see, let's try 1,500 kilograms. Okay, 22,524. So we're still slightly under. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to add this to 1,800 kilograms. Now we're at 22,824. Still not there. So 23 right at the dot. I'm happy with that. Let me show you what we just did, folks. Okay, so here's our flight plan from SimBrief. Okay, here's all of those figures that I was typing in. So what I essentially did is I manipulated this extra fuel to be 2,000 since there was no extra fuel on here. You can see final fuel on board is going to be 23,024 kilograms, and what we are, the block fuel, meaning everything before any of these are used up, should be right here at 22,929. So we're right above that at 23,000 kilograms of fuel. So we are most certainly happy with that, the way it stands. Now look how large this aircraft is. We're only doing 3-hour flights, so it's very small. Typically Delta doesn't even fly this aircraft. They fly 737 900s or 800s from Seattle to Washington for Alaska Airlines, or I'm sorry, for Delta. However, I wanted to use this aircraft for a more than an hour flight, so we got a 3-hour flight. But look, it's only 10% fuel in each of the wings here, folks. It's not even, there's no fuel even in the center tank. This thing is monumental. All right, fuel on board, passenger and cargo's not loaded. Fuel on board light. Okay, so now let's say implement. Okay, so the fuel is being loaded. So now we need to go over to the passengers. And of course, we are full. You can see the black spots here. We're going to implement this as well. Now the passengers and cargo is being loaded. So now we can come outside and take a look at the aircraft. And it is most certainly very busy out here. So if you scroll around and look up, we got the baggage carts in play. Here is the fuel. And of course, you can see these are other pilots on the VATSIM network. Here's a JetBlue, here's a Southwest. And so anyway, you can see passengers are being loaded up with the configuration. They've been brought on the bus, which is right here. Kind of looks like a box, una caja. box, but it's right here. So nonetheless, don't mind my Spanglish. Back on board to really see what's going on. So all that's being loaded up. So in the meantime, let's come back over here and actually, you know what? We'll come down here. Let's get our comms on. Again, this aircraft with the comms, you got to know what you're doing because you're like, oh, they're not on. What's going on? So even with the PA system, you have to like turn it up in order for them to hear the cab announcement. So we're just going to turn that up, and we're going to get on VHF 1. And we got to also hit that. Now there's sound. You see that? So again, if you're flying this aircraft, just know that there's more than meets the eye with this thing. You literally have to turn everything on. So again, let's do that again for those that want to know. All right, so right now our comms are completely off. Okay, you see that? And then there's going to be several different ways to turn comms on, because this aircraft has ways that you can do things here with these buttons, or you can go onto the touch screen and manipulate it that way. So let's go ahead and call for our clearance. So first of all, let's turn it back on. So now you see it goes to green, and it's representing where the VHF 1, but you see this, there's no sound. You essentially have to turn this on, and then you got to turn it up. I mean, this thing is it's pretty doggone intuitive here. Now if we want to look for our clearance, let's see here. We have Seattle Tower, we have Seattle ground, and we have center tower and ground. So we'll go to ground of 1217, which we are already on ground 1217. So not a whole lot of activity here. So let us attempt to, and you can see this is all looking good now. We just need to throw a flight plan in here. We'll extinguish this. This is another thing. When I first flew this the first time, I'm like, what screen is this and why is it on here? You have to change this. Right now it's on the landing system. You've got to take this, roll it on over to the nav and then to the arc, and this is going to get that standard display that we are used to seeing. Here's the QNH. We need to switch it over here in the United States. We use inches versus what they use in the UK. And there we go. So again, folks, a lot of stuff happening here that we normally wouldn't do in other aircrafts. So let's go ahead and call for our clearance. Seattle ground, Delta 318 IFR to Ted Stevens, Anchorage.
Delta 318 Heavy, Seattle ground, good evening. Cleared to Anchorage Airport, Banger 9 departure, ARE transition, that is filed. Climb via SID except maintain 7000. Departure will actually be on offline the time you're ready at squawk 1510.
Okay, let's get all that. Okay, cleared to the Anchorage Airport, Banger 9, ARE transitions in is filed, claim and maintain 7000. Departure will be offline by the time we get there, so we'll assume we're going to Unicom perhaps, and we'll be squawking 15104 for Delta 318 Heavy.
Delta 318 Heavy, read back correct. Push to start your discussion, call short Bravo, ready for taxi, expect 16 left for departure.
Okay, we'll call for taxi, we'll be expecting 16 left for departure. Thanks a lot for Delta 318 Heavy. Okay, so we'll leave him on. There's not a whole lot of traffic, and as I said, you know, we're probably going to be leaving here with no ATC, which is okay with me for once. So no worries there. So now we can essentially, now here's where I'm crossing my fingers. Prior, when I first got this aircraft, sorry about hitting that. When I first got this aircraft, there was absolutely no SIDS and stars modeled on here. You had to go and basically download another plugin, which I think it was the, I can't remember the name of it, but there was another plugin you downloaded, and then you were essentially able to import a file, an FMS file that had the SIDS and stars in there. You'd have to do it, but since then there's been an update, so I hopefully will be able to get the SIDS and stars in here the correct way. So let's go ahead and check that out. Now that everything is aligned here, okay, now we are going to go here and actually get down and dirty to the flight plan. But these Airbuses are very different. So one thing on the initialization screen as well, we have to put our cruise altitude and all that stuff. So we're not quite done here. So we're going to be cruising today at 38,000 feet. we're going to do a cost index of 45. That's basically essentially the airline's procedures and policies on how much fuel they want them to burn, if the pilots are taking a D-rated takeoff, if the pilot, whatever the procedures are to save money for the company. It's basically why you're putting that in. So along the initialization, we got our flight level programmed in there, along with the cost index. Okay. Flight number today is Delta Airlines, and you guys know I'm flying with 318. That is my luckiness. And then also the alternate is there. Boom. There's no company route. We got the altitude of cruise already in there. The cost index, the cruising temperature at the altitude is supposed to be negative 56 degrees. Super cold. There we go. So now we can actively get into our flight plan. So let's see if this works, folks. So from Seattle, we want to, let's see, departure. Okay, so this is good so far. We're going to be departing from runway 16 left, and the SID that we want to use is the Banger 9, and the transition is airy. So far, folks, this here is, let's see, TM5 flight plan. So, clear info, so that's in there. So, okay, now that's in there. So, erase. Okay, so let's insert. Okay, so now it's in there. That is amazing. I'm not seeing any altitudes here yet for the restrictions, but we've got distance and altitudes. But the fact that we got this far, folks, in this aircraft, I'm loving it. So now the next waypoint is going to be Fochi. Let's see, insert next waypoint.
Bravo Charlie.
The next waypoint is going to be FOs. It's a fix. So there it is. Let's apply it. And let's go down.
JetBlue 417, same for you. Departure frequency offline, Unicom 122.8.
Let's see. There's an alternate. Just looking for Fochi. Let's see. Okay, so essentially I need to plug it in here next time. So let us delete that. Okay, Fochi. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so 16 Aries Banger Okay, here's Fochi. You make sure there's no discontinuities on that. Okay, this is the last page.
National Aircraft, Seattle Center, approach tower ground closing in 1 minute.
Okay, so ground will be closing into flight plan. Airy. Another trick that we can do, because this gets a little funky, is we can come here and essentially also do it here. Let me check something out here. We're going into the flight plan. Seattle, let's go up. Richard, Banger, Airy, Fochi. Okay, there it is there. So far it looks good. There's no discontinuities in here. So we're doing everything right. So let's come back here now. And there we go. That's another thing in this aircraft. The up arrow, you would think, would bring it up to the top, but essentially the up arrow brings it down on the flight plan. I was clicking the down one. Shame on me. So now that we see Fochi, now we're going to come in here and add the next waypoint. So this is learning for everybody, folks. This is learning for everybody. They're starting to die off here on the VATSIM, which is, again, okay. We probably won't have any air traffic control, but it's okay. Price is the next waypoint. We are going to apply that, insert that. Now on the up arrow will bring you down, and then now we need to insert the next waypoint, which is actually a VOR. It is Bravo Kilo Alpha. I wish there was a way that we didn't have to keep doing this insert, but I'm gonna keep doing this way because it'll be my luck. I don't hit that and then everything erases or something. Lair, Joe, and okay, so we're getting close, folks. The next waypoint is Lair. Let's apply that. Okay, let's make sure it's there. Insert, and then Lair, we are going to do another VOR, which is Juliet Oscar Hotel. Enter, fly, enter, and then we go right into the arrival. Okay, so from the arrival, now we're gonna click here, and now we're able to click on arrival. And the arrival runway, you know, let's see if it lets us just put the star in. It won't even let you do it. You got to have a runway, okay? Little by little, we're going to get this thing figured out. So now what I'm doing is I'm checking the weather in Anchorage to see the winds. Okay, so the winds are out of the east. Now I'm going to check to see the map here. Okay. Boom. I'm going to bring this down for you guys to see. No worries there. So we have to essentially see airport parking coordinate. Let's see. Okay. So let's bring this down in here for you guys to see from my second screen. Okay. So as it stands right now, the runway that we shall land on would be 7 right. It's an eastern facing runway. The winds are out of the east at 70. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be landing over here. So now let me get rid of that. And the winds are out of the east. So we are choosing 7 right. Now we can go to the star. Still none. Let's see. Approach. Okay, we're going to say that. Via. I don't know. Okay, now we're going to get a star. But you see, there's little nuances in each aircraft that you have to know how to get to this. This is my first time actually flying it while this has been put on board. And to be honest with you, this was the piece that why I didn't fly this aircraft that much, just to be honest with you, because I'm a person that I don't play a lot of video games. I only do simulated things. One reason I'm so into aviation is because when I was in the Army, I drove tanks. I was able to shoot tanks. I was on helicopters. I was a mechanic, so I virtually worked on and drove everything. I didn't fly a helicopter, but I was in it quite a bit. Fixed wing aircraft just simply was out of my purview then. So now, since I've been out, it has just been something that I've just gravitated towards and wanted to learn more and more, and actually am in love with it. Good thing I wasn't in love with it before Army, or else I might have joined the Air Force or the Navy. Anyway, back to the message at hand. The message is each aircraft is a little bit different. Be patient with it. Be patient with yourself. Get to know it. And just know that you're going to make mistakes. Here is our transition. Now, we can add that in. But I'm telling you, this is totally making this aircraft already much more enjoyable. Let's see. So here's the cool thing. We actually have got everything now in here. It looks like all the way down to the runway, and then see here the 600. So this essentially looks like these would be the missed approaches here, I'm assuming. But it looks like we have a full flight plan, and I didn't have to erase any discontinuities because it automatically recognized I had the transition point in there before I accepted it into the star or the standard terminal arrival. So now the flight plan is looking quite good. So now from the flight plan in these aircraft, you also always need to go over to your performance. And this is where we are most certainly going to get the V speeds. Now, the V speeds, hopefully they fix this, should come from this information over here. So the perf calculator, now that we have everything on board, runway slope, I'll check it out. Then once we do the runway slope, it should give us everything here. So the flap setting that we're gonna leave on is I want to say 2. Let's go to the first officer side. Again, I haven't flown this aircraft extensively all the time. I have flown it, but stepped away from it. So essentially, yeah, we're probably going to take off flaps 2. Let's get this over here changed. As you can see, you got to do everything here. So I like the immersion. It's a lot of work. Okay, now let's look at let's go back to Seattle. Okay. We're gonna go back to Seattle, and essentially we are going to be coming off of runway, he did say 16 left. So let's look at this together, mi gente, mi peeps. Okay, so he says we're gonna leave on runway 16 left. However, we don't have any slope information on this particular runway. So what we'll do is we'll go over here to approach. We'll go to 16 left, and now we'll look at the slope of the actual runway. So here is the airport elevation. Here's the touchdown zone. Here's all the ILS information. So I believe the slope of the runway is going to be at the bottom. So, and I'm rusty with looking at the slope of the runway. So here's the ground speed. This is for like your radar minimums. This is showing what type of poppy lights it has. Glide slope. Man, you know, I haven't needed to look at the runway slope stuff. I mean, in real world, you'd be looking at it all the time. But let's be realistic. It's a sim world. So this is the glide slope of when you're coming down. So that's not the slope of the actual runway. I'm assuming it should be here. Touchdown elevation. We're just gonna take our time. Here's the missed approach fix. That's the stuff that we are not worried about right now. Okay, set in inches. Transition. This is basic stuff. Simultaneous glide path. Angle. Come on, guys. It's on here somewhere. I want to put it in accurately, and maybe it's right in front of my face, but I don't see it. Localizer, You know what? We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Flight director. Okay. So I'm just gonna Google it. Where do I find the runway slope on the Jefferson chart? Where do I find runway slope on Jefferson? Looked like somebody else looked it up before too. It was not able to find. Tells me what the runway slope is. How to find. To determine the runway slope, the runway elevations at both ends can be used with the runway link adjacent runway symbol. Also at each of the runway ends, the runway number is shown with magnetic bearing. Okay, so we believe that. I still don't see the slope information here. I know it's on here, so don't get me wrong. I'm just the one stuck on ignorance right now. So it says divide the difference of the elevations by the runway length. For example, the length of the runway is 3,000 feet. Dividing by 30 by 3,000 results in 0.00. Multiply that number by 100. Okay, so let's do that. So let's do this. I use my phone here. So the runway length. Let's see. I know that slope is on here somewhere. Let's see. 3 degrees. The angle. We're gonna get through this. And there's that information. Climb, missed approach. This is all information for your arrival. And they usually have a runway somewhere like in the offset of the runway. I'll be able to tell you what the distance on this runway is. That'll be no problem. I know how to do that. But I thought it was on the chart as well, which it should be. Touchdown elevation. Okay, so if it's not here, you can always find the runway information by simply coming to the airport information. So this runway is 3,627 meters, or 11,000 feet. So it says divide the difference of the elevations by the length of the runway. So, man, I wish it was easy street here. I gotta divide and do all that. Let's see. Let's go back up here to the Jefferson chart. Let's see what the runway slope is. Hello, let's look at navigation. I can see runway slope listed at the top right next to runway length and width. So So let's go back here on the approach chart. Maybe I missed it at the top right. Says, but is that a Jeppesen chart? Oh, that's nagging. I can see the runway slope listed at the top right next to the runway length and width. Okay, so what are we missing here? Let's open this up a little bit more. Okay, so I'm looking here at the top right. I don't see runway length or width anywhere. This is decision height. This is the glide slope. This is where you should pick it up at 1900 feet, so I know that. Here's the airport elevation. Ah, okay. Now I think let's see, 3420. I don't know what that is. That's the MSA. Okay, so these are the minimums, altitudes and stuff like that where you need to be there. Let's see, glide path, simultaneous, set inches. We're gonna work this together. So look, guys, we've literally covered this whole top part. I don't see runway slope, and I don't see anything else. So let's continue to look at the chart. This is the approached fixed, and when you go missed, this is the alternate missed approach. So there's another alternate hold right there at Pioy. Okay, this is your decision height type stuff coming on here. D2, D1. Well, actually, this is distance from the field. I'm sorry, 1.6 nautical, 2.6. So we know what that is. Okay. Ground speed, Okay, that's about the poppy lights and all this good stuff. And I believe this is if you go miss, this is what you're supposed to do. Climb the 900, then on heading 195 to the Seattle VOR, which is radio 210. Straight in landing. Yeah, I don't see the information. We literally just covered the whole chart. And I just can't believe that it's not on here. For that runway. Yeah, I'm not seeing the slope information, folks. So normally you get the runway elevation from, okay, so we did that. We know about elevation. Let's say runway elevation and the other end 90 feet. You can subtract these values from each other in case. Now take that runway normally available in most airport. Divide the difference in elevation, the runway length, and multiply it with 100, and you've got the slope. So 10 feet and that equals. Okay, so we're gonna do this math right now, folks. We're gonna do it right now. So I know how to do it now. I just read how to do it, and you guys might not like it, but it is what it is. So it's a learning moment here. Okay, so what you have to do, each end of the runway has an elevation. So at this end of the runway, it's 432, and at this end of the runway, it's so 432 minus 347. Okay, let's do this, folks. So you're gonna have to do this too with this aircraft, so you better get used to this if you want the realism. So that is 432 minus 347. It's a difference of 85. Okay, now you take that and we're gonna multiply it by the length of the runway. So let's see, they did you can calculate, let's say, so 90 feet, so it's 10. So now we're gonna take 10 feet and we multiply it by the runway. Okay, so now, oh, we divided. I'm sorry, we're gonna divide. We're gonna divide 10 feet. So it's 100 feet, 10 feet. Now take the runway length, 2,000 feet. Divide the difference in elevation through the runway length and multiply by 100, and you've got the runway slope. So he's saying 10 feet divided by 10,000. So we are going to take this. So what was our figure here, folks? So 85 divided by 11,901 equals a slope And then he said multiply it by 100. So multiply it by 100. So our slope is 0.7. So that's the runway slope. The slope is 0.7. Now let's look on the approach chart and look for anything that says 0.7. Let's just rule that out. And there's nothing, folks. There is absolutely nothing. See, here's the missed approach stuff, the Tichi. So that's what this stuff is talking about. I don't see anything with 0.7, so I don't feel so bad now, folks. And to be honest with you, I don't even see the runway link. It's 11,000 and something. So let's look for that number. Yep, there's nothing here. There's nothing that says the runway linked here. Now I'm curious to see if we go over to our taxi chart, which is right here. Let's see if this runway even says it here, that there's a slope. Yeah, the slope's not here. So, do me a favor, guys. Whoever out there knows about runway slopes, who knows Jefferson charts, because that's what Navigraph uses, let me know. Let me know where it's at. Let me know where you find it. Give me a comment. I know it's somewhere on the chart. I'm pretty good at reading these charts. However, I can't find that information. We just looked, but we figured out how to calculate the slope. So now let's take that information and see if we can get our V-speeds. So now the slope here is going to be 0.7, and we'll enter that, and then flap setting will be 2, and we'll enter that. There we go, folks. There is what this aircraft is saying. V1 is V rotate, and V2 climb out is 162 with the flex temperature of 57. It's got the gross weight in kilograms, it's got our center of gravity, and it's got the headwind calculated. So I'm going to write this formula down. Again, real quick snapshot. Subtract the differences between the elevations of each end of the runway. You're going to divide that little bitty number by a larger number, which is in this case was 11,000 something. That is obviously going to give you a decimal, and you want to multiply that by 100. You get the runway slope, you put it in, now you're good to go. You get your V-speeds, and your stress just disappears. There we go. So now that we have that all figured out, what do we need to do? We need to come back over here and put the V-speeds in. So we're going to type in 160 for that V-speed. The rotate was 160, and our climb out was at 162. Okay, if we do Togo, which I'm planning to do, that'll be fine. But if not, the flex temperature was 57. I wonder if we type this though, that goes off. I've never done a flex takeoff. I'm considering doing a flex takeoff right now, but I'm kind of scared. I think I'm just going to go full power because we are heavy. Yeah, what do you guys think? I don't know. I'm going to do the Togo. Anyway, so our performance page looks good. We got our transition altitude. We've got flaps 2 and THS for 39%. While that's important, if you look here, we're going to come down, and THO for this is 29%. So once we, which is our takeoff trims, once we get the aircraft going and get our hydraulics or APU pump on and turn all the hydraulic pumps on, we will essentially be able to do that here. So we got a pretty nice, sweet takeoff, although we are taking off in this direction. So the funny thing is going to be to see how we essentially, or actually, you know what? We're actually facing south already, so that's pretty nice. We're just going to go and follow this line. Airbuses are super easy to fly when it comes to that. Having said that, folks, it is time to get out of here. Okay, we've got our V-speeds all calculated. Everything is good to go. Let's check on the cabin. Cabin lighting, Here's all our waist levels and cabin lighting, door status. We'll skip that. We did the perf calculator. We've already did fuel. And we've already done passengers. So now let's come back over here to our ground services, and now let us close all the door and hatches. So if I say close all, that's exactly what's going to happen. Again, simulator type situation. Now we also need to check on the ground equipment. We're going to get rid of the stair, the chocks, the bus, the fuel, and the luggage loader. So there's nothing there, but we still need to leave it on ground power. Let's make sure our parking brake is still effectively set. So as you can see here, parking brake is off. Parking brake is on. And let's see if I can get rid of this armrest. Perfect. Let's get rid of this guy's armrest too. Won't let us. Okay. Now it is time to get the APU started and all that, but as promised, folks, this is a long time. That's why I don't care about being on air traffic control, because we're gonna take our time now, but we'll stay on the VATSIM network for the realism. Now we are going to go, let's just APU start, APU fire test and all that. We're not going to do that. We're going to go back to normal procedures, cockpit prep before pushback and start. All right, fuel quantity. Here's our fuel quantity on board. FOB, we checked that. So fuel quantities checked. Final load sheet we checked. Zero fuel weight and FMS and all that we checked. ECAM, check within normal operating. That's good to go. Seatbelt, pedals, and all that. External power is supposed to be off, but it is not. So let's go ahead and get our APU on. Remember I told you guys I was going to be taking a long time with the APU. So the way we start the APU is we need to turn the master on. Okay. And this is going to be the isolation valve, which we will open for engine start. Okay. So let's go ahead and start our APU. And of course, let's turn our nav lights on, which have already been on. It's a little dark, so we'll get our logo on as well, and we'll leave the rest of this stuff where it's at. I love how super simple this Airbus is. Seat belts on. You can hear that APU spooling up. There we go. Now let's check our APU readouts. So here's the APU. It is at 100%. Here's the exhaust gas temperature. The Apu generator clearly is off. So we can come back up top. And that's one of the things that you do have to manage in this aircraft is the Apu generator. So if you go back up to the electric panel, you have to engage that. Okay. We're going to open the bleed. All right. Now we can turn the external power off. And of course, we want to open the isolation valve. Engine 1 bleed, hot air. We'll turn that. That's still on fault, so we'll turn all this on. These are the bleeds for the packs once we get those going on. But right now, the bleeds are open and the isolation valve is open. Now we can start getting all this stuff done. If you don't, what's going to happen, which is awesome about this aircraft, it'll give you a little message that the aircraft is getting hot. Let's further go up top. These are all still on fault, but now we can most certainly turn our hydraulic pumps on. They're going to stay default until we actually turn the engines of the aircraft on. Everything else up top is looking good. We will probably more than likely take a peek and look at that stuff again, folks. All right, now that that's done, let's come back over here to this interface, and now we can get rid of ground power. So we are all good to go. Let me check VATSIM network, because they had an event here, and I'm pretty sure all those controls, yep, they're not even on anymore. There is literally no one here on the VATSIM network. There may be still pilots here, but the controllers, they were controlling for 5 hours and they're done, so no skin off my chinny chin chin. So without that, we need to go ahead and get our weather report from FlightAware. All right, trusty FlightAware, don't fail me now. Seattle. Weather. Now we can, okay, so the winds are out of the south, as we knew that. the altimeter is 3048. So let me remember how to do this here. You gotta click. Some aircraft you use the scroll wheel and whatnot, and some you don't. So the altimeter is 3048. We most certainly have to put it on this side as well. All right, 3048. And what else do we need to know? It's clear visibility. The winds are only at 7 knots, so takeoff really should not be a problem. Now we can go ahead and let's go back to our checklist. External power is off, and you see it already went to green, so we're in compliance with that. Thrust levers, parking brake is not off, so this part is going to kind of be we're calling for, but parking brake is not off, so we have to have it on in order for the better pushback to happen. Let's get the better pushback going now, folks.
Grounded cockpit, tow is driving up.
Alright, tow is driving up, so what does that mean to us? We need to have our red beacon on. Now, let's continue our checklist. We can't release the parking brake just yet, so we won't do that. Okay, now you guys want to really get into some crazy stuff. Let's do something here, and I'll start showing you guys some stuff. Alright, so we're down here at this panel. This is a very also integrative panel. We want to worry about our squawk. Squawk is slave to another function. However, the squawk code we can put in now. We're going to put in 2200. Let's see. Let's clear it out. I don't know why it's not letting me do. See,
okay, all doors and hatches are closed.
It's not letting us do that for whatever reason. So here's another way we can get to it. Let's go back to our panel. We can essentially come over here on this side, and we can go to our, let's see, is it here? Perf load. No, it's not here. I'm sorry. We got to come up to the larger menu, which you have, which this drop down arrow has never worked in every rendition, which it should. You got to click on the FMS. Now you have to go to the ATCOM. Let's see. I'm sorry, the servos. Now you're going to go to controls. Now this is also where you can control your squawk code. Maybe the reason why it wasn't letting me put it in, because this is the screen where it wants me. Remember the other screen said slave? That means that that's not the controlling function to input the information. This is. We could essentially extinguish that slave with the left OSB that was next to it, which is that button. OSBs are referred to as the buttons that you push. We could have done that, but we didn't. So now what we're going to do is, because we are going to push back, we want to turn our on to normal, and we're going to do TARA, which is the standard for taxiing on. Now here's all of our weather stuff that we want to put on our radio for our flight. I'll turn this on, and the terrain mode. Here, we can actually turn these on now. All right, and you know what? We'll just turn everything on. We'll just turn everything to auto here. That way we don't have to worry about it again once we go check that checklist. So now we have our TCAS there, and then you can also go to these switches here. Now, it's another thing you need to know about this aircraft. If you don't turn these systems on, you're no good. Let's turn them on. Okay? Boom. Boom. Now let me show you elsewhere this is at, where you can turn them on and off. Back down here, okay, let me get to the track IR situation here. Here's where those systems are right here on the lower pedestal. So essentially I could have done everything and clicked them on right here. Again, if you come back down here, this is where, like if you come over here to the squawk, you would click this left OSB and that would unslave it. Then this would manipulate it. But we're going to leave it the way it is. Now the radios, we can simply manipulate. There is no slaved here. This is where you can go ahead and put them in, and of course with the volumes. Now, we also need to do one thing here that's very important, and you can't forget about the passengers on board. So now you want to go over here to the cab announcements, and you want to welcome everybody on board. We're going to play that. And you see it's in use. We hit play, but here's the deal. You don't hear anything, right? Don't freak out. You have to click this to on. So that's off and on. Then you got to turn it up. Alright, I'm not sure if they said release the parking brake or not. Let's go outside and take a look. see if they're all hooked up. And for whatever reason, they're not even hooked up yet to the aircraft. Which I don't know why they're not hooked up to the aircraft, but if they're not, we'll do our own pushback. Maybe they want the brake off. Let's see if they're essentially moving out there. Okay, so they are. So they want it off. You see the tug is now moving. Strange. They've never wanted the parking brake off. They do now. So parking brake is off. Now let's go ahead and get this situated. We need to figure out this number, so we need to figure out the trims. Alright, they're saying it should be at 23.
Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Alright, let's go make this happen.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
So this thing should be to off, but it's saying that it's on. So that's strange. I'm thinking parking brake is off when this is up, but essentially it's allowing us to move. So I think something is wrong with that. So we just have to know during this flight, parking brake is off when it's pulled this way, and it's on when it's up, so it's the reverse. Sorry about that, folks. Stranger things have happened. At any rate, we are moving, no problems. Let's go back over here and tell the pilot, the cab, doors to auto. And before we start taxiing, we'll get that safety demonstration and seats for takeoff and all that good stuff. So in the meantime, we need to come back over to the perf calculator and just make sure our center of gravity is 23.1, flap setting, slope setting, flex temp is all here. So it was 23. So, and that's essentially just telling us that's the center of gravity. And we're takeoff for this 23 is all good. Now, as this is happening, we need to do one thing here because we are still on VATSIM network. So we need to, okay, you got to click on this first, and then you got to clear it. So you click on this to where this is blue with the right OSB. You're going to click clear, or if you don't, just type in your frequency 122.8. That's in there, and then to switch them over, you just click on the left OSB. And now we are on 122.8, which is the general Unicom frequency for flying on the VATSIM network. Let's go back over now to our checklist, folks.
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
Right. All right. Let's see here.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Okay, so I understand it now. So on my joystick, so the parking brake is on now. What happens is if I fully depress it, it goes to on, and it really is on. If I halfway depress it, which in this aircraft, that's how you brake, was with a halfway press, that activate, it toggles the wheel brakes, not at maximum, but to slow the aircraft down. Then if I fully depress it, then essentially what happens is it goes to the full parking brake. So we figured that out. Back over here, folks. So we're good there. Let's go to the next checklist. Before pushback clearance, at start clearance, we did that. So we're okay. Let's go. That's before start. Let's go back to normal procedures, and then let's go to engine start. Hydraulic pumps are all on, as you guys can see. That APU bleed is on, beacon lights on, E-cam auto mode. We should check. We already did that. Engine start selector to start. Engine master 1 on. So we're going to be starting the engine 1 first. And then we'll do the same thing with the second engine. But there's a couple of different things I want to do first. Let's come back up here. It's going to be easier. Listen, folks, I already know. Let's play this a little bit. You see this cockpit door being locked? We want to lock it. Now it's locked because that's going to be one of the checks. Now we don't have to worry about that. So let's go ahead and get this aircraft up. You can see this guy here has just took off. That was the one that took off 16 left for Alaska. I wonder where he's headed, but he's rolling. All right, folks. Like any other Airbus, what you want to also do, this is our information page here, okay? This is everything that we need to do in order to be compliant. And a lot of this stuff is in orange just because we haven't done it yet. So now what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're monitoring these screens over here, because that's going to determine exactly if the aircraft is all ready for departure. That's why we're going to follow the checklist. So we're going to put the ignition. Let's see how you do this. You're supposed to pull it over to start, and we're going to start engine 1. Now we need to put this on. Okay, we're going to put this in the engine mode. And we've got 1 coming up. And it should be automatic. It just takes a while. You can see engine number 1 is coming up. Alright, that's letting us know engine 1 is on. Starting engine number 2. And it just takes a minute, so you got to be patient. You can see here's some more stuff that we're going to have to get squared away. So the auto start feature for number 2 is working just fine. Now it's going to recognize, because that engine on, that there's other stuff off, but we have to wait for that engine to stabilize. See that? More is going to come up until we get these bleeds and things off. So we're going to do some stuff, and then we'll do the checklist, because I'd rather do it and then make sure that we did it, so I'm not going back and forth. So does everybody agree on that? You know? Alright, so that engine looks like it's up and stable. So now we've got some work to do up top. So we're going to be closing the isolation valves and all that, or we could just simply put it to auto. Now that the aircraft is up, we want to turn the packs on, and then we want to turn the engine bleeds on. Okay. Put these in auto modes here as well for pressurization. We can turn the APU bleed off. And we can also most certainly turn our generators on. Let's go further up on the upper pedestal here, the overhead I should say. Okay, our ground hydraulics are off, so we need that for nose wear steering and all that. So let's put all that stuff on. Looking left, looking right on the panel. There is no notifications, and let's put that up. And normally we're going to get a nice little temperature of about right there for the cabin. Okay. Now we'll go back down, and now the only thing we see now is that this APU is available. Thank you very much for being available. We're just going to turn that off. We're going to get our airflow to normal. Right there, we are going to get all the temperatures right where we need to be. And up top looks really good so far. So as you can see now, and look, we got a guy here that must have been actually parked at the same gate, but he's pushing back, so we're not even going to pay attention to him. He's on the VATSIM network. Okay, now here is another fun part of this. The anti-skid is really easy. It's right here. Okay. Now that we turn the anti-skid on, we still need to get our brakes to auto to take off. So how you do that, you're going to come over here, and if you click on this wheel page, okay, down here on this lower pedestal, here's a bunch of different stuff, APU bleeds and all that stuff. Come over here to this wheel page and come up here. Now you can see here where we have the auto brake on or not, and we most certainly, as you can see here, we need to arm the spoilers and put the auto brake to reject the takeoff, which has to do with this switch here. So auto brake is armed to 2, but rejected takeoff, let's see, 3 high. but we need to get it to RTO. So 3, 2.
And Seattle traffic, Horizon Air 2402 pushing back from Quebec to onto Whiskey, looking at a part 16 left for Seattle traffic.
Alright, so again, low, you go the other way. Auto brake low, 3 high. Now let's see what this little one does. Nothing. So we have the auto brake to high. Let me keep spinning it and see if it goes to rejected takeoff. It doesn't. It won't even turn anymore. Let's see. So we're going to leave it on high and assume that's the rejected takeoff, because it's not saying RTO at all. Then we got to get our flaps to 2, which that's going to be no problem. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right. And here's our flap indicator going down to 2. Now maybe all of this will go off once we essentially do the takeoff configuration check. Now see this here, we're going to put this to where the ground spoilers are armed. What else do we have here? Cabin signs, cabin ready, spoilers, flaps, auto brake. All right, let's check our configuration. The way you do that, low back to your pedestal, and let's see, takeoff. Okay, so we're good. So this is what to do, and this is the takeoff configuration. It's all in the normal range. So we've done everything. Seat belts, so smoky, parker brake on, auto brake arm, speed brake arm, takeoff configuration is to normal. The flaps are set. So takeoff configuration is awesome. Now what we need to do, of course, is a flight controls check. So back down again to the pedestal here. Gonna click on this flight controls check here. And now we have our flight controls here. Okay, we're gonna go full up. We're going to go full down. We're going to go full left. We're going to go full right. Aileron left. Aileron right. There we go. So all of our flight controls look to be doing well. Now we're going to go back here and we can check on the system status here. Everything says normal. So then we're going to just go back to our takeoff configuration. And now let's finish our checklist, folks. You can see a lot of things went to green super quick because we actually did do it. So that's a good thing. So after engine start, we need to check the controls. Engine start selector to normal. So we haven't done that yet. So let's go back over here and let me show you what that is. Engine start selector switch needs to go back to normal. So that's up. So we did that. Anti-ice is required. We don't need that. APU generator, all that's off. APU Gen PB is off, which is okay. It's off. I don't know why it's not saying it's not off. Let's look up top again. Everything is off. Yeah, so I don't know why it's not saying that. Rudder trim is all zeroed out. Ground spoilers are on. Flat lever is set. Pitch trim is set. And the ECAM status is checked, which we did. That was that status that we checked, and it said normal. So APU master switch, APU generator PB. Oh, maybe that's what it is. I didn't turn the generator off. So there we go. I believe that's what it was. Let's see if we can check it. Let's see. It won't let us uncheck it, but I think that's what it was. The generator, I had never technically pushed the button to off. But the generator, but it's actually off. So next, now passenger data. The passenger data. Why is that off? Catcom. Let's go back here. Passenger data controls. Let's see here. Auto. Let's go to ATCOM. There's no data there. Back up. Passenger data is off. Looks like everything is on. Okay, so I don't know what that one is, but everything else there we did. Landing camera on, everything's on, passenger data on. Let's look at the lower pedestal and see if there's any passenger data stuff here. Rudder trim, cockpit. Doors locked. Let's turn this up. I'm actually really glad that I do have this aircraft. All those systems are on. GS mode is off, which it shouldn't be.
Seattle traffic, United 448 is turning final, runway 16 left.
Let's go and check something out. Let's go to the servos, controls. See, we have everything on servo default setting. See, GS mode is on, so I don't know why it's saying off there. But we're just checking that. This is all on. Let's go to our next checklist, folks. Everything's auto, so that's the pressurization. That one's good to go. And the engine controls and electrical systems. Again, they're just missing this passenger data. Engine controls, and that's the APU. So, as you can see, we did everything. That APU generator thing, that's me forgetting to turn the generator off before I turn the APU power off, which is okay. I'm not going to be the end. The airplane is not recognizing it. And then this passenger data is off. Not quite sure why the passenger data is off. Everything is on. So essentially we're going to leave that as an okay. And everything is good. So now let's go to the normal procedures and go to the before or the taxi. Okay, nose lights on, runway turn off lights. Runway turn off lights on, taxi on, parking brake off, thrust levers as required, auto brake RTO set. So let's do that, folks. We're gonna go up. Well, actually, before we even do that, folks, we need to look at our taxi, which is gonna be super simple. But because I'm such a nice doggone guy, I'm gonna show you exactly where we're gonna taxi. All right, folks, we're in here. We're already facing this way. We're pushed back. We're gonna turn the nose right so we can ease out of here. And then essentially we're just going to taxi Bravo all the way to 16 left here for immediate departure. Okay, so don't tell me that I didn't give you. Oh, Seattle Center, we've got a Seattle Center back online. So let's talk to them really quick. 1242, there's no ATIS, so let's go down to the comms. And again, what you want to do is come over here. 1242. I'm going to switch it over. Seattle Center, Delta 318. Push back from the gate. Ready to taxi with the weather information. How would you like us to proceed, sir?
Delta 318, Seattle Center, a little busy, so hold that. Actually, runway 16 left, taxi via Bravo.
16 left, taxi via Bravo. Thanks a lot for Delta 318.
Delta 600, Seattle.
Alright, so last time we got climb and maintain 7,000.
10 transition.
So let's get that put in there.
3053.
So here's the cool thing about this feature too. Go up by hundreds of thousands. So if you click that over, now we're going to go up
Air Canada 284 to
7,000, and we're going to push it in because we want it to follow the actual aircraft. If you pull it out, the hand is going to pull it out. That's going to follow the heading that you put in. If you push it in, the aircraft will do it by itself along with the rest of the stuff. Let's just go up here. Our flight directors are on. That's literally the only thing that we had to do. Auto throttles will come on.
Yes, sir. 1050 still here.
So we're good to go. Alright, so now we're going to do a left
Delta 8965 descending to 10,000
to get out of here.
Let's
see here, the way we're facing. Actually, I'm sorry, we're going to do a right. I don't know why I was saying left. We're going to go back this way. So we'll do a sharp turn. And let's finish doing what we needed to do. So now we're going to turn on our turn off light. And we're also going to not turn on land light, but the nose light for taxi.
Center, right. 52.
So nose lights are on.
6660.
And
Delta
we
Sierra is here, go ahead.
are going to release the parking brake. Parking brake is released. And then thrust is required, and the brakes are to RTO. It's still saying we're not on RTO, but whatever. Is he calling me? Seattle Center, Delta 318. Was that last call for us, sir? Okay, so I don't think it was. All right.
Air Canada 284, say airspeed. Correction, say Mach number. Mach 0.78, Air Canada 284. Can anyone hear me?
5x5 here from Delta 318.
Hey, firm, I can hear you. Delta 8965. Air Canada 284 doing Mach 0.78, 17, sir.
Can anybody hear me?
Air Canada 284, you hear me? Air Canada 284, say Mach number.
Alright, folks, you can see it still says normal for ECAM.
Well ahead of the guy in front of you. Maintain Mach 0.72, correction 74 for trail space. Delta, good evening, Delta 424 Heavy, flight level 400. Delta 424, Seattle Center, squawk 6633. 60.
We need to get a new squawk code as well.
Charlie Golf Delta Alpha Sierra, say airspeed. Delta Alpha Sierra 245.
Another guy here for Alaska Airlines taking off.
I can go up to 250, that's about as good as I can. Alright, well, that'll be fun. American, correction, Air Canada 284, resume normal speed. Normal speed, Air Canada 284. Seattle Center, Delta 600, flight level 360.
Alright, so this taxiway will be here. Bravo, let's look left since we do have traffic.
6657. And Center, Horizon 52, we're squawking 6660, just want to make sure you got us. Horizon 52, yeah, just had to dispense with the radar calls because there's some aircraft, your radar contact. Thank you.
Center, United 784, flight level 360.
United 784, Seattle Center, squawk 6616.
6616 coming up, United 784.
Seattle Center, good evening, Delta 125, flight level
Let's get straightened up.
10 miles from 125, Seattle Center, squawk 6652.
Alright, we're pretty straight there. Let's come over here.
United 675, do we get lower?
We need to do our cab announcements.
Who's that?
United 675.
United 675, Delta 125. Yeah, cross Bastionet to maintain 7. Correction, cross Bastionet to maintain 4,000.
Bastion at 4,000, United 675.
Seattle Center, Delta 318 here, taxiing on Bravo. When you get a chance, can you give us the new squawk code, sir?
Delta 318, 6632.
6632 in the box, Delta 318. Alright,
Seattle Center,
6632.
Delta 125. Go ahead. Flight level is 400, 10 miles from Double Center.
Alright, we've got our squawk in there.
Seattle Center, squawk 6656. 6656. Canada 284, transition to 240.
Okay, so sorry it took so long for us to get up and at them.
Delta 125.
However,
Seattle, descend.
it was necessary.
At Powell's discretion, maintain flight level 240. Descend on discretion, maintain flight level 250 for Delta 125. Negative 240. 240, Delta 125. Delta 600, turn 30 degrees left, vector for trail to Vancouver. Delta 600 is going to Seattle. Oh, I'm sorry. Delta 8965 down to 6,000 feet and 210 knots across Vashon. Delta 8965, there's no need to report that. If it seems a little busy. My bad.
So on here, once you put the brake to high, as you guys saw, that is rejected takeoff. Because look here,
We'll descend across eGrid at 13,000 Delta.
everything is good.
Vancouver altimeter 3044.
So
3044. Air Canada 284 across eGrid at a maintain 1 to 2,000. Vancouver altimeter 3044.
again, nothing saying rejected takeoff.
Seattle Center,
We've got somebody on final.
with you on a flight level 360. Vancouver.
Delta 9545 Seattle Center, squawk 6654.
6654. Center United 1451. I think we should be going over to Oakland by now.
Working on it now.
All right, enough of those reindeer games. All right, almost to the full length of the runway.
874 on the ground at Pearson. Request for our clearance to Coeur d'Alene.
It's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes. Can you take that?
Nope. I'll sign off. Thanks.
Yes, he didn't want to wait 15-20 minutes, so he's not there for the realism. I stand by the controller.
600, disregard.
All right.
American 461, same Mach number.
Parking brake is fully set.
American 461.
Now that I know what I'm doing, it's fully depressed.
Delta 1050, Seattle Center.
All right, so auto brake to
Delta
RTO
Delta
before
1050, same Mach
takeoff.
number.
Is
Mach
required.
decimal 790.
The options, and then table stowed.
Center Horizon
Table's been
52,
stowed.
request
This is
descent.
the table right here.
1052 cross Jackson.
I don't even know if they model it here.
280 knots.
I think it comes out automatically once we get into flight.
Seattle altimeter 3048.
Altimeter
Alright,
3048.
12,280 at Jackson for
We've
Horizon
got
52.
this guy coming in. Looks like he's flying for United.
Horizon 52, you can cancel the speed restriction at Jackson.
Looks like he's got a nice
Alright,
little
cancel
angle
the
there.
speed restriction. Horizon 52.
Delta 8965, descend and maintain 3 down.
Descend maintain 3000, Delta 8965.
And what's your next waypoint?
I'm transitioning to the ILS 16 right
Man,
by
I'm really
Asian
loving this aircraft,
transition.
folks. The
Right
fact
now.
that it's
Okay,
got
well,
the
Delta
SIDS and
8965,
stars.
just, heading
Thank you,
after
Flight
that.
Factor. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
344.
Oh my
heading
goodness.
after Vashon.
Let's get out of here. Delta Center, as you were, Seattle Center, Delta 318, holding short runway 16 left, ready for departure.
Delta 318, Seattle, got one departure off the departure end at 16 center. You have him in sight, I'm not talking to him.
I don't see him from the cockpit. Let me jump outside of the aircraft and see if I see him. Just 1 second.
And Seattle.
All right, so he's asking me if we see anybody.
51 at let's go, please.
Say again the call sign.
I don't see him.
1251.
Country 1251, Seattle, clear to San Francisco Airport.
All right, I don't see anybody.
Climb via sit, accept, maintain 7,000.
At all.
Squawk 6,
Let's look on
635,
final.
Squawk code only, please.
6635.
Final, there is nobody.
United 675, descend to maintain 3,200.
3200, United 675.
United 1451, contact Oakland Center 132.
So we're burning fuel, so we need to get out of here.
1451, good day.
Second Country 1251, right back, correct. Delta 125, cross Egret 12000, Vancouver altimeter 3044.
3004 for Vancouver on the same next waypoint at 2000.
That's Egret at 12000.
2000, sorry about that.
Seattle Center, Delta 318. I don't observe any aircraft around us at all, so I'm not sure if he's on the network or lagging or not, but it looks clear.
Delta 318, roger. Runway 16 center, clear for take, correction 16 left, clear for takeoff, and 1707.
Thank you, sir. 16 left, clear for takeoff, Delta 318.
Air Canada 284.
All right.
Your normal speed.
Up top.
Airspeed, please.
What do we need to do? We need strobes. We need the landing light on. And you know what? Let's put our logo to auto. And we are good for here. Normal procedures and takeoff.
733 Seattle Center.
Okay, chrono and all that stuff we need to do. Check one, landing gear. Okay, so now the chrono.
Seattle Center United 1226 with you. Sorry about that.
Something I always forget.
1226, Roger. Delta 8965, it really helps to know where you're going.
We're going to I thought I said that, no, I didn't. You didn't hear me. We're going via Agen to Iris 16 right. We're going to Agen via.
Alright, coming on that runway a little bit fast.
So the chart says heading 344, you're right back 344, so I assume that's what you were doing.
We went 344 till we, GPS took over to get us to Agen, get us around here to line up for 16 right for Delta 8965.
Okay, yeah, check the chart next time, please. You're causing a traffic alert now. United 675 traffic alert, traffic is blocked. 1 mile east out of 3000.
Inside 675.
675 vector around him for the sequence, just going on a little bit further.
Roger.
Takeoff power is set.
Canadian Gulf Delta Alpha Sierra, contact
downward pressure on the stick.
133.7.
3.7 Delta Sierra, have a good one.
Seattle Center, Juliet Alpha 0315, takeoff. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Seattle Center, Horizon 2402 on Whiskey, looking to pick up our squawk.
Coming up on our V1 and rotate at 160.
Delta 2402, Seattle Center, squawk 6621, and runway 16 left.
Nice and up, easy.
Taxi via Bravo for Horizon 2402 and 6621 in the box.
Landing gear is coming up.
Airspeed.
190.
You're 190.
Alright, we're on autopilot, pretty smooth takeoff.
Delta 125, maintain 250 knots or less.
So we are right on course, folks. Let's double check the gear is up and stowed.
United 784, cross E-grid and maintain 2000.
Speed check, flaps.
E-grid at 1000, guys, 7.
Alright, and we're going into the climb mode.
And Seattle Center, country 1251,
We are in climb mode now. I need to redo my joystick because it'll mess up.
12.6, cross runway 16 left to the ramp, get
Up to ramp, United 6, thank you.
Delta 318 meter contact, see altitude.
Speed checks, flaps 0. 3,300 in climbing via SID up to 7,000 for Delta 318.
United 675, turn right, heading 130, intercept runway 16 center localizer.
Heading 130, intercept 16, right localizer, United 675.
Delta 318, roger, climb and maintain, flight level 380.
Up to flight level 380, Delta 318. Alright, so he most certainly did us a solid.
Let's try the visual approach runway 10 right.
There we go. Now he said climb up, so he's giving us a free range, unrestricted climb to 3,000 feet or 38,000 feet. So what does that mean? That simply means that if there are waypoints on the SID that require you to maintain a specific speed,
reset transponder, squawk 6663, please.
666 and 3 into the transponder for Delta 318. All right, so.
Delta 280, correction, Air Canada 284, verify you're going at 250 knots.
Alright, hopefully that ain't no bad sign for our flight. Anyway, what I'm saying is that normally when you follow a standard instrument departure, you are going to follow it basically based off of certain speed restrictions and altitude limitations. Once they give you climb up to a certain altitude, those restrictions become null and void. You can go straight up, let's climb with your aircraft to that altitude. So we are going to go all the way up to flight level 380, which is our cruising altitude. And if you come here, of course, here's a nice vertical profile of what we're doing. And now you can see the aircraft is turning. I tell you, these Airbuses are true joys to fly.
16 right's available if you want it.
That's all good. Center, Delta 600 request on descent.
Delta 600, you're a little bit far, but descend via the Hawk 7 arrival on my 16 transition, Seattle altimeter 3048.
All right. So far, so good. We are above 10,000 feet. So we can most certainly turn off all of our landing lights.
Canada 284, contact Vancouver, arrival 128.6.
That's off. So runway turnoff is off, landing lights are off, and nose is off. There we go, 2 clicks down. That's just 1 click. There we go. Now we can also fix our range up here.
84 to get descent clearance.
Now we've got our range here, and our TCAS should still be on.
25, contact Vancouver.
Terrain mode, TCAS, yep. Let's see. Transponder, TCAS, TARA. Alright, folks, we have a beautiful departure out of the Seattle area. Let's just take a look at this view here. It's gorgeous.
Remember Delta, descend at miles discretion, maintain 1.
Completely breathtaking. Let's go ahead and get the climb message going. So guys, so far not too bad. We have managed to initialize the aircraft, get all the systems in place, minus a few different things. We learned how to do our calculations for the actual runway sloping to put into here to have a good V-speed. So again, we're cooking with Crisco.
Copy that. Sorry, was that 10,000 for King Air 3 November Delta?
Alright.
Descend at miles discretion, maintain 10,000.
Going down right now, 10,000 King Air 3 November Delta.
Remember Delta, clear for request for Eugene.
So we're continuing to get higher, of course, which is absolutely beautiful. Once we get airborne and on our cruising, we will walk the cabin. A little bit of turbulence coming on here.
675, runway 16 center, clear.
I'll need to fix some of the first officer side stuff here in a minute.
And center, resident 2402, hold short, 16 left to Charlie.
Okay, folks, as always, let's bring this in.
2402, runway 16 left, perfect takeoff at 1707.
Perfect takeoff, 16 left for Horizon 2402.
Alright, so where are we?
Air 3 November Delta has Horizon weather and ILS, turn right 6 right, please.
Okay, here we are right here.
6 central advisor.
You can see that. We are Delta 318, and so here's Seattle. So now we are traveling northwest, of course.
Horizon 52, turn right heading to 60.
We look at the big scope of things. We're going to have air traffic control into the next center as well.
260, 7,000, vectors 16 center, Horizon 52.
That's Vancouver Center. So once we get into Vancouver Center, they will have us. Out we go for that. It's very choppy here. If I were to do a PIREP or a pilot report for other pilots, I would tell them exactly how choppy it is. Okay, continuing to climb. We are at the... Whew, it's bumpy up here. We are at the transition altitude. So now we can simply come over here. Push it into standard. Now what we need to do as well, which we've been remiss for the first officer, because for him, let's get his stuff set up where it makes sense over here.
Good choice.
Now his stuff is to standard as well. So now we are going to be pinging the right information. Alright, we did all this stuff here. We rotated. There, I didn't have a
Delta 424
here, let's disarm those spoilers. So essentially now the spoilers are disarmed, but I didn't have it disarmed before I did it, so it did remind me to do it. All right.
Airport at your 3 o'clock and 15
So that's done. And let's go to the next menu. After takeoff, anti-ice is required. Off, normal procedures. Then of course now we can go into our climb. Set that to standard. That's set. Anti-ice is required. Seat belts. ECAM memo review. There was nothing on the ECAM. Nav aids and optimizing max altitude. ECAM message is still normal over here.
Exit left and hold short at 16 center for landing traffic.
Hold short runway 16 center for landing traffic.
All right, folks.
Horizon 52, descend and maintain 3,200.
3,200, horizon 52.
So we get up level flight. Like I said, we'll go back into the cabin and do a walkthrough of the cabin once again. We can kind of take a quick pic of the cabin. So if you come here, we've got all types of features here, and there's a video of the cabin.
Just a tad high.
This guy here, see that? We've got a video back there of the cabin. So I don't even know what he's doing out of his seat. Shame on you, sir, for being out of your seat. Don't do it again. Don't let it happen again. All right. I'm gonna go back to let's see here. Yeah, we'll just go to the status. ECAM status is still normal. Here we don't get any messages.
Horizon 52, turn left, heading 190, intercept runway 16, set turn localizer.
190.
And for once, we actually started the chronometer when we were supposed to.
190, intercept runway 16, center localizer.
So we have
190.
roughly 11 minutes and 50 seconds of flight.
52.
Correction. Country 1251, runway 16 left, clear for takeoff, then 150 at 7.
All right. What a wonderful view of the mountain system.
At 784, looks like you're about to pass the party. Center is closed. Clear to change to advisory route.
Locked.
At 784, leave Mars Space, Vancouver is closing. Clear to change of route.
So Vancouver is closing, so you don't have to worry about that as you heard him. So we'll go right back to Unicom.
Delta 1050, say Mach number. Metro 413, say Mach number.
Metro 413, Mach 0.79. Delta 1050 back in cockpit.
All right.
1050, perfect, say Mach number.
Nice little beautiful.
We're showing Mach decimal 815.
Delta 1050, maintain Mach 0.76 in trail space.
Maintain Mach 0.76, Delta 1050.
Horizon 52, 12 miles from Anvil, cross Anvil 3,200, or about clear Dallas for my 16 center approach.
Seattle Center, naming United 1743, 360.
United 1743, Seattle Center, evening.
Yeah, 675 short of the center, a little short to left.
All right. Cruising right along.
United 675, hold short on 16 left for departing. Actually looks like he's clear. United 675, cross runway 16
It is
left.
very choppy.
Cross 16 left, right over to the ramp.
Let's go ahead and up our game here.
45, cross 16 center and 16 left, join Bravo to the ramp today.
There we go.
Cross from runway 16.
You can come here and see this line here indicates our type of climb, or TOC.
Country 1251.
That will essentially be where the aircraft is done climbing.
Correction.
Metro 413, you able to do Mach 0.81. Metro 413, Seattle.
All right.
Mach 0.81.
Yes, sir, we can do that.
Venture 413, maintain Mach 0.81.
Coming up on 30,000 feet.
Delta 318, lunar airspace is met, covers closed, radar services are terminated, there needs a change of path.
Okay, we'll be going over to Unicom. Thanks for your service. Happy holidays. We'll see you next time. That's 318.
See you later.
Alright, so we give them happy holidays. We are on our own and climbing. We got about 8,000 more feet to go. But I think we're safe enough to start the walkthrough of the cabin. What do you guys think? You know what? It's kind of bouncing around a lot. Let me stay up here before we get to level flight. So just hang out with me here for a second, and we'll continue to comb over the aircraft. While we're doing that, okay, so let's do just that. Alright, so here's our tables. They should be coming out once we get to level. I believe this aircraft, they come out automatically. It doesn't get, I'm looking for a click spot. It doesn't give you a click spot to make the tables come out. I think they come out on once we get to our cruising altitude. So in the meantime, before we get too funny about things, let's come over here and come to the FMS and let's look at our active flight plan. And now you can see all of our levels of flight are in here, and it even has the descent stuff, which we'll double check to make sure it's on point since this plane just started getting SIDS and stars in it. But you can see here we are direct Foci, and here are the times that we should be at each one of those waypoints. This is the heading and distance and all that good stuff. This is the heading track and the distance in nautical miles per each one. So everything there is looking good. If we want a better view of that, I'd have to move because right now the throttles are in the way, but we will most certainly be doing that, and hopefully the winds are still out of the east Anchorage, so we don't have to change our runway selection. So there's that. Let's jump over to the first officer side now, and you can see his tablet is a non-functioning one here in this aircraft, but we only need one since we only really have one pilot on here. But you can also still come down here and look at some other information for the first officer side. He also has a tiller over here. This is essentially what steers the aircraft. The captain has one as well. There's some more lighting options, and again, these ones are not modeled on this side because you can do everything from this side, and you can see the arrow will come over it. These are modeled, as you can see that. So I'll be putting on a map light and all the things of that nature. Moving on down here, we do have another analog compass. So you can see essentially here we're traveling about 310 degrees. And you can see the same thing about here, which it follows that as well. I could also switch these air data from left to right if I wanted to. However, I choose not to. Down here too, you also have these selection keys here, which do everything for this screen. So if you're not touching here, you can use it here. And essentially, this little bump in real life, that's where the mouse scroll wheel is at. Here you have your engine start selectors and your ignition, which is to normal, of course. The first officer does have his same thing as the other side. He can switch over to several different things, just like the captain can. And even go over to nav, which will type in the nav frequencies for ILS, VOR, or ADF. But we don't need that because once we put that stuff in, this aircraft automatically inputs that information. This is all for your displays here and the ECAM, the different things that we can read out. And this is for our TCAS information here, which you guys have seen that we have been manipulating that. This is the speed brake or spoilers to slow us down. These are the flap levers. This causes more lift for the aircraft at slower speeds for the slats and flaps. So there you go. And then the rest is a lot of digital stuff here that goes into play with this, which you'll have to learn. We're not going to go through that on this flight, but just know that for the first officer side, I can manipulate certain information up there onto this. So for example, and we got about 1,000 to go, and then we can get that cabin walkthrough going. But over here, let's say if I don't want the waypoints or airports on here, I can click this stuff for it to be on there or off. Okay? Same thing with NDBs, traffic, and all that good stuff. And here's the lower keys right here for weather, for VORs, for traffic, so we definitely have weather and traffic on, but they've got VORs off, and up top there's some other stuff that you can populate on here. Typically I like it clutter free, so I don't like a whole bunch of information on there myself. Let's see here. Now you can see Fochi, we got that in about 39.8 nautical miles. We have a wind that's it's traveling southwest, so it's off the northwest side of the aircraft, pushing on us at 67 knots. Our ground speed is 419 knots. Our true airspeed is 477 knots of where we're at on the Earth, in the atmosphere, and our indicated airspeed is Mach 0.831, or roughly about 275 knots indicated here. So that's another lesson that you'll need to get to learn how to know the differences between the different airspeeds. Again, I think we can choose a different view here. Let's come down here. This is our other GPS that you saw as we were planning that we can use in the lower pedestal, the parking brake and all that good stuff. Alright, now let's see if these come out. So I just think they're not modeled, but essentially this table would come out and there's a keyboard where you can control different stuff. One thing I want to get on over here, let's get the map light turned up. Go. There we are. So now we have leveled off. Let's get that going. Now you can see here on our vertical profile, we are in level flight. It is still quite bumpy. You can see the aircraft struggling to keep level flight here. It's pitching up, pitching down based off of that. If we want to go higher to flight level 40,000 feet, we could, but I'm going to choose not to, and we'll be satisfied where we're at. Now folks, let's go ahead and do our walkthrough. Let's get the perspective first of two passengers. So we'll come to the right side of the aircraft and you can see the wings kind of bouncing around. Left side, kind of the same thing. Alright, now, so we'll head back to the cabin and we are going to walk the cabin now. Alright, so let's do this. So we'll walk around this corner. First of all, we are at the very front of the aircraft. There is a little kitchen galley over here. Just let you know where. Here's the keypad to get into the cockpit, which that's where we're at. Alright, we'll move a little quicker here through the cabin. There's one of the main doors. As you can see, we've got los pasajeros, so those passengers on here. They do have a bar here, which is pretty cool. Alright, so the center is on 1337. Back to business, folks. 1337. So maybe there was another controller just waiting to come on.
Canada 761 Center, climb level 350, clear direct to Seattle. Clear direct to Seattle, climb flight level 350, Air Canada 761.
Vancouver Center, Delta 318, checking in with you, sir, at flight level 380.
Delta 318, Vancouver Center, welcome aboard.
Alright, so we are in their purview. So they told us that they weren't online, then another controller must have saw the opportunity that another one went off and then decided to jump on. No worries, we can pick up right where we are in the cabin. Let's go ahead and keep walking through. Alright, so flying for Delta. Everybody looks nice and cozy.
424 Vancouver Center, good evening. Runway 8 left.
Imagine these full. I guess they only wanted to do passengers up to the front to simulate that, and decided for keeping our file size
Vancouver Center, wish it 2030,
low, not to put other textures on here of people.
203 Vancouver Center, departures identified, climb flight level 210 and turn right in at 100. Right turn 100 and up.
Alright, now we're going to go to the back of the aircraft. If you walk around this corner,
66 Vancouver Center, rate 45.
we go right into another flight galley back here, or galley. This is where they prepare the coffees and the foods that we eat.
766, presently 26,000 feet after 2 minutes.
For 766, roger, squawk items.
Coming back around the corner.
Squawk items.
Alright. Now, one other thing that we can look at, which is pretty cool about this aircraft. This is a long-haul aircraft, so it usually has more than one flight crew for longer flights. And you could essentially, if you wanted to, come look up here at their little bunkhouse, which is pretty fancy.
For 766, thank you. Identified now, runway 8 left in Vancouver.
So this is like their little bunkhouse up here, where they sleep, which is pretty cool. We'll go back down the steps.
Vancouver Center, good evening. Currently jet 519, you're heavy through 10,000 information cluster. We have gotten approved 8 right.
Alright. You can see Delta's got some welcome aboard stuff. It's backwards on those seats.
Right then, the Vancouver altimeter 3044 and descend to 3,000. Thank you.
So,
3,000 plus 3 right decimal.
this is where you guys are going to sit for the flight. You're going to watch this TV. So welcome aboard Delta Flight 318 service from Seattle, Tacoma International to Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport. Flying time again should be around roughly 3 hours and 3 minutes. We'll jump back up to the flight deck to see how far we have to go. So if you take a look here at the old rusty dusty chronometer, we've already got some time here of 27 minutes. So essentially we've got about 2.5 hours to go, folks. So sit back, relax, enjoy the flight. Ought to be an interesting one.
124.2, Aircast 761.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get some drinks and services on here.
519, just for your information, might be in a bit of an extended downwind just to get you over to the other side. I got about 4 others on final for 8 left, so I don't want to throw you into their jets. Sounds good to me. We'll plan for a longer downwind here. Just have a nice. Sure, 766, thanks for flying the flight plan. Yeah, so you can plan runway 8 right, the ILS, the Vancouver altimeter 3044, positive discretion, descend 10,000.
That's the gain.
And for 766, descend to 10. Good note.
Let's see, let's go ahead.
424, continue to descend
Check
3,000 cross,
pressurization panel.
3,000 cross Steve, level of 10,000. John, 4 with you.
So essentially, what we need to pay attention to as we fly to is our pressurization panel. So this is always going to be the engine piece up here of like our exhaust gas temperatures and our thrust. Okay, this now I put it onto our cabin elevation. So right now at our current feet, the cabin elevation feels like it's 7,500 feet. Versus feeling like it's 38,000 feet because the cabin is pressurized. Everything is on auto. The landing elevation is 150 feet. It's already calculated that because it knows that in the system. And the Delta P's in the good. Okay, that's our pressure on our ears and all that stuff, so that's good. We have no messages here, so that's good. So,
Westjet 104 with you.
That page is all good to go. Now we can also check
Vancouver Center, Roger, good day, squawk item.
Let's see, our fuel page. Let's see how our fuel is doing. Nothing in the tanks. Obviously, you can see that we still have about 17,350 something kilograms on there. So we're good there, and that's still well above the entire en route fuel that was calculated, which we put over there. We're doing good here.
Push to 114 climbing to flight level 290.
Alright. So, we'll just leave that. Actually, let's get it back on the
114 permission to set for 5 minutes.
Status page.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Advise back, please. Advising on back.
It is bumpy, so we are going to keep the fasten seatbelt sign on for the passengers, even if they decide to go ahead and walk around. That they still may sit. When they sit down, they need to put their seatbelts on, of course.
Hello, Delta 764 Heavy, 2,125.
764 departures identified, climb flight level 410 and flight heading 110.
Yeah, so we got about 2.5 hours left. We've got about 1,094 miles left, and the total distance is 1,255 nautical miles. I'm getting this information off of the VATSIM radar because it will let you know how far you have to go. All right. So I haven't flown into Alaska for quite some time, so this ought to be very interesting to see exactly how our flying experience goes up there this time. We're going to get to Anchorage, which is, if you know anything about Anchorage, okay, you got the peninsula here on the eastern, southeastern part of the state. And then in that peninsula is Juneau, which is the capital, which ironically, even though I was born in Alaska and lived there for 10 years, I've never been to Juneau. And then here's the peninsula, and here's the bottom of the state, and then it comes around another small peninsula, and it kind of goes like this. That's the way the state of Alaska is. Turn that around, how I'm doing it anyway. So essentially the peninsula would be here, and then the state of Alaska would go like this for you, looking at the camera. Anyway, there's a lot of tundra and airport. There's a lot of towns and cities and municipalities in Alaska that don't have any outside roads that come in, so you have to get there snowmobile, trekking, or aircraft. Smaller aircraft come in there, especially like up in Barrow, Alaska, and those other places. If you ever watch the show Flying Wild Alaska, it's pretty interesting. So we'll get up there and have our fun flying some turboprops, and then we'll do a long haul on the way back in one of my long haul aircraft. It'll probably be this one or the 747. I don't have an A380. I'm thinking about getting it, but for now, I enjoy flying this one. I'm not super like, oh, I need to get the A380. That's just not me. Hopefully this choppy air gets a little bit better. Vancouver Center, Delta 318.
And 318 Center.
Yeah, the air is a little bit choppier here, so I'm going to request a climb up to flight level 400 to see if the air smooths out there, sir.
No, 318, yeah, that's not a problem. Flight level 400.
Okay, climb and main flight level 400, Delta 318. Alright, so we are essentially need to come back here to the FMS and click on this. We need to go to perf, and we need to fix our altitude of cruise. Let's see, we're in cruise. I've got to do this first. Let's go to the initialization.
Via the Connect 5 arrival and plan the ILS runway 8 left.
And let's change this to 40,000 feet. Now, we need to make sure that that's indicated in our flight plan.
Descend via the star, cross Basra level at 10,000, and you can descend all the way down to 3 on arrival.
So, didn't look like it like that. Let's see, we're in the cruise phase. Let's come over here so we can really look at it. Cruise phase, da-da-da. 50, climb. Okay, so it's got cruise flight 400, so now we can climb. And now essentially what we'll do, we just have to come out here, set this to 400 and push in.
310, show 114. Okay, 519, once you're established, over to tower 1187, good day. 827, when established, coverage at tower 100, Runway Elevation.
Now it's going to climb up to flight level 400, and we'll see if we get some smoother altitude there. As you can see, the aircraft is pitching up. It is now at flight level 400, so maybe the FMS will catch up by now. It just took a minute. Everything says flight level 400 now, so I'm happy with that. The reason why that's important is because, so here's alternate cruise on FMS, that's good. ECAM memo's been checked, ECAM system pages review, we already did that. We went to the pages together. Alright.
Departure,
It's a little smoother.
with you, flight heading 83 for 7,000.
Got about another 1,000 feet to go, and hopefully it'll get even more smoother than that.
Departures identified, flight level 350, flight heading 120 degrees.
120 degrees, flight heading 350, Air Canada 237.
So we're cruising right along. Got about less than 900 to go on feet for climb. And then let's max this range out here so that we can really see our next waypoints. So here we are, and here's the bands. It's 320 nautical miles away, 480 nautical miles away. So our next waypoint, let's see, if that's 480 to 320, that's what, 160, so we can minus 160, imagine that's 220, so about 100 something miles till we get to here. And then again, you can look at it right here, so I did it right, it's about 100 something plus miles to get there, 160.
Yes, I am.
Which is the difference, 160 and 160, go figure, is, you know, 320.
37, check your squawk 5173 when you have a moment as well, please.
So there we go.
Squawk 5173, Air Canada 237.
So as you can see, we've got quite the ways to go. Even to get this VOR, that's over, you know, 400 and something miles away. It's 500 nautical miles away, because if you look at this, it's 480 in this outer band, so it's quite the distance. We are definitely not bouncing around like we were before. Still see a little bit of dance in there though, but it's not as articulated or rough as it was at flight level 380 or 38,000 feet. Now the thrust will come back into Mach here in a second. As you see, it went back into Mach because we're done climbing. The engines are balancing back out.
Center, Delta 1050 with you, flight level 120 inbound to Grizzly 6.
Delta 1050, Vancouver Center, Roger.
Much smoother, guys. Much smoother. Much smoother.
Okay, altimeter 3044, continue on the Grizzly 6, expect runway 8 right, and down 3,000 1050.
So now, folks, we sit, we cruise, and, you know, just listen to some music. We've already been to the cabin. It's time to just sit back and relax and have a great flight, hopefully. Hopefully the weather is a non-issue. All of our anti-icing, let's look up top, should be on auto. Everything here literally is on auto mode. So once we need some, on our descent and all that good stuff, need some anti-icing to kick in, the aircraft is going to do it by itself. However, we still need to monitor that. So there you go. So let's sit back, relax, and enjoy. Look at that, guys. It's a nice stable flight now that we got to flight level 400. So we'll give them a PIREP.
Copy your kids at 237, turning right, direct.
in Vancouver Center, Delta 318. Just wanted to let you know from a PIREP that the air is much smoother at flight level 400 if you have any other traffic coming this way.
Great, thank you, dang, I can't climb up to 400. What's your 114? Yeah, really though.
Alright, so
Too heavy to get up there.
You let
Too heavy and also not enough time.
Having lots of fun.
Yeah,
But the reason why we do that, in case there's any pilots that came through with lower altitude, filed for their flight plan for their final cruise, we would just let them know, hey, we've been through there already at flight level 380 at 38,000 feet. It was rough. You guys saw that. You can see now the weather's updating on the weather feature. However, so we want to send that information back because we essentially did it. We requested a climb. We got another 2,000 on the climb, and the air is much smoother. Aircraft is happy about that, and so are the passengers, and so am I. So, again, for the 10th time, let's sit back, relax, and cruise. Just wanted to give you that bit of information just to let you know why we did that. And I hope you guys are truly enjoying the rest of this tutorial flight to Ted Stevens in Anchorage, Alaska. So now, enjoy.
Make sure you fire off course. Turn left heading 200. Yep, turning left 200. Air Canada 1337, when you're able to correct the Victoria VOR Yankee Juliet for number 3. Copy your head 1337.
A little bit more chop here. Alright, so we have been cruising for quite some time, still at 40,000 feet, where we altered our cruising altitude due to a little bit of turbulent air when we were on our initial, when we got to our initial cruise. So far, we're going to start doing some briefing stuff here. We've got top of descent coming up fairly quickly. So the first thing we do before we start briefing the weather is we are going to brief and make sure that all of our information to arrive into Anchorage is accurate. So now we're just pulling up some information here on the Navigraph charts, and we are going to most certainly be looking at our arrival. Alright, so here you go. So let's pull that in about right here. And we're going to look for our star, which is the Yeska 6. Let's make sure it's the Yeska 6 on our flight plan. Yep, it's the Yeska 6. So we're going to click this and we're going to start looking at where we need to be when. So here's the deal. This arrival essentially does not necessarily have any altitude notifications here. It's just a general arrival into the airport, where it has us coming in basically on this radial, and then we expect radar vectors to the final course, which 7 right is this runway down here. So it looks like from Yeska we're going to go on heading. Let's look up any reading on this arrival. From Yeska on TED Radial 101 to TED VOR, expect radar vectors to final approach course after Yeska. So essentially, now what we'll want to do is do a few different things here, and this is why this is really good for flight planning. So if we're taking 7 right, more than likely we are going to be downwind south of the runway, okay? West, east, north, south. So we'll come in south of the runway and come back around, and so we'll be downwind here, do our base turn to Elias, which is I'll probably program in that as our initial approach fix, and then back around for the localizer in. Now another great feature of this is the fact that we can most certainly, first of all, I need to type in the route. So let's type in the route here really quick. Let me copy and paste it. Should have done that before, but I don't really need the route typed in on the Navigraph since I'm got everything on board. But let's do that now. So we're going to copy the route in. So let's get this new flight stuff up here really quick. So we went from Seattle to Anchorage, and that is our alternate. We're going to create that route. We're going to come over here and essentially copy that in, and then of course we need to get rid of the directs. It doesn't like it, doesn't know what to do with the ECT. Alright, E space. Let's get rid of all the directs in here, which is usually what we all have to do when we copy and paste our flight plans. We'll save that. Now technically we're already on the arrival, okay? So being is that we are already on the arrival, we can kind of zoom out a little bit, and we're off the arrival for whatever reason. So what we want to do is look at approaches, and we're going to do ILS 7, and we want to show the waypoints. Okay, so I'm thinking we hit this jack up, and then we come all the way around to runway 7 right. So even now, I'm thinking even now we're this far out, I'm going to alter our arrival for jack up, and we can mainly just put that in right now. And then if you look at jack up on the ILS, let's see, so jack up is here, and that's actually the holding point. And jack up, they want you to be at 3,000 feet, right heading 230, and then you go to jack up here. So right heading 230, 210, and they want you to be climbed to 3,000 feet. So here you could be 3,000 feet. Then if you look at Elias, of course, over here, that should be at 2,000 feet. So now that we have that in there, and the good thing is there's no ATC, so before we start our descent, we need to take a look at this information here. So let's come over here now and see exactly what we have. So this is the Anchorage, the TED VOR. Right now we're jaw. We got Yeska at 8,000, Tully. Now we're gonna have to come up here, of course, and we're gonna have to hit it from this angle since the flight controls are messing up. So Tully at 1,600, which is accurate. So from Yeska, it's got us going to TED, and then it's got us swinging over to WWEO. So now we can essentially, we might not have to do too much. So let's take a look at this. We're still on course for John and then Yeska, so that's all good. Our top of descent, we have not got there yet. So now what we're going to do, folks, we're going to really quick, let's decrease this way down. Okay. So our top of descent's in about, we'll say 38 nautical miles. So we still have time to do this. Let's switch this over to plan. And now we need to cycle through our plan. So there's John. Alright, so let's look at this mayhem that we have here on our display. Okay, so this is obviously somewhere we need to slow down. This guy's basically coming straight in and then doing a little change here. But from Yeska, I'm thinking we'll get a little closer, come here, and then I'll just do a direct to whatever this point is. So, let's see, there's Yeska. Then this got us hitting Ted, which we're not going to do. Here's Yeska. So Ted must be one of these. Let's increase that range there. Decrease it, I should say. And let's step through this thing here. Okay. Let's come back over here now and take a look at what we got. So here's Ted. So we don't want Ted. We essentially need to make our initial approach somewhere over here. Elias, or there's another one. So let's come back to our flight plan. Oops, we can't do it from that way. Let's come back over here and okay, so we're going to scroll all the way down and we'll see if we can switch up the approach. See, it's not allowing us to do the arrival. Let's click off of that quest. Let's see. Maybe that's not the bottommost end of flight plan. That won't let us change it, huh? Arrival, departure. Okay, and this may be a shortcoming of it. I should be able to go back here and switch this stuff up. But essentially what I'm going to do, let's see, I think it's this Juka. Let me go back to our, yeah, it's Juka. So Juke Up is in there, even though that's the hold. But we're going to modify this right now. So let's come up to our, let me see, I'm going the wrong way too. Okay, so let's see how that Juka is spelled. Juka. So, from here, insert next waypoint, and we're gonna insert Juka. We're gonna apply it, and we're gonna insert it, and then after that, we are, let's see here, okay, so this waypoint, we're going to delete it, insert it, and boom, 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 boom. So now, we can come here to this discontinuity, delete it, insert it. Now from Yesko, we're going to JUCAP, okay? And JUCAP can be at 3,000 feet. So, let's see where we're at as far as top of descent. Let's get off this plan mode and go back to arc. And essentially, we need to start our descent like lickety-split. Down to 3,000. And for accuracy, let's go down to 10. Okay, so we're passing it right now. So, we're just going to push it in. And the aircraft essentially now is going down. now we are descending into the Anchorage area. Visibility is not so hot, but there is like 9 miles of visibility, so hopefully the weather holds. We have another aircraft that'll be arriving roughly around the same time, so we'll essentially see if we can chat him up on the Unicom frequency. Now we're going to go back to our plan mode super quick. Let's scroll back through that. Yeska. Nice. You guys see that? So we kind of made ourselves arrival a little bit better. So here we go. Nice little curve and then right on in, and then we could just use the ILS. Right onto the runway 7 right. So I'm really liking that. Again, if we had ATC, we would essentially... here, let me just move that up a little bit. A lot of the times I pause the track IR because if you keep it on, the plane is bumping around and moving, the mouse is going to go everywhere. So as it stands now, here is our descent profile. It looks like we are good to go. So at Yeska, it's telling us that we are essentially... Oh, sorry about that, guys. Then we'll start getting in some checklists and do a bunch of other stuff. So at Yeska... Okay, so at Yeska, we are essentially going to go down to 9,000 feet. So on and so forth. And we should have plenty of time because look, we've got 28 minutes on this leg to get down to 11,000 feet. So that shouldn't be a problem. If we increase the display, you can see that we'll be right at 3,000 feet where we intended to, right at the Jacobs, where we should be. Okay, that's where that little blue mark indicates. That's where the descent will end. The airplane is doing a marvelous, and I do mean marvelous, job of calculating that. So well done to the developer of this, who have made this much more immersive. All right, so let's. One thing we forgot to do is start a descent. Okay, we're gonna go into normal procedures here. Descent preparation. Okay, that's fine. Let's see what else we may have missed in the descent preparation, but it's pretty simple. Weather obtain. Landing electric preset. Okay, so let's get that part in there. Let's get the altimeter is 2885. So the way that you set your altimeter, we need to come here to active, and I believe it's going to be, it's either on the performance, and we're going to go to approach. And here's where we put the QNH in. So it's 28, or I'm sorry, it's 2885. Decimal 85. Or I actually didn't like that. Let's back that up. Okay, QNH is 2885. Outside temperature is -6. So we need to put a -6. That's the outside temperature. And of course, here is our VREF. And we are landing flaps full. The wind's only out of 6, so we can do this. So that means our approach speed is 141 and our VREF is 136, folks. And our minimums, radiator, we'll do radial altimeter is going to be 200 feet. Sorry, my eyes started watering all of a sudden. Okay, so we got ILS 7 approach. We got everything good to go here. 194 tons landing weight. So we are currently in the descent phase. And as you can see, the airport's about roughly 80 nautical miles out. So we should be on the ground soon. Let me see who this other... Let's see, he is Polar 975. Let's try to talk to him. Let's make sure we're on Unicom. Let's see here. Polar 975, Delta 318. Are you up, sir? So I'm going to send him a message. C. Dot MSG. He is PAC 975. Hello there, friend. I see you are... Oops. Hello there, friend. I see you. I see you. Okay, and let's say looks like you are inbound to Anchorage. I am slightly ahead of you and landing on 7 right. Look like. All right. Good evening. Ask him if he's up on voice, just so we don't have to talk this way. Alright, so let's go ahead and slow the aircraft down. You can see the speed will be bleeding. Let's go ahead and get our range so we can really see what's going on. Now we need to take this off of standard and type 28. Things are happening super quick now. I was hoping to do more of a briefing. Okay, so we'll try to reach out to him. He is up on voice, which is a good thing. Alright. And let's get the first officer's side to about 20. On the range. Let's see, he is Polar 975. Polar 975, Delta 318. How are you, sir? So he's out of range. Alright, so now let's focus on what we're doing here. Airport's about 60 miles out. So now it looks like we're going to be lower for sure. So I believe now what I'll do is just manually take this. So I'm going to pull this out and get that down to where, let's see, because it's got us descending pretty quick at Yeska. So let's just slow our descent down. Slowing our descent down slightly. Just go up and get these landing lights on. I'm also going to slow the bird down I want to control everything manually. Because last time I flew this aircraft, I most certainly had a horrible experience and it did not land it well. So now I'm going to essentially take over the speed. And we're going to break this bad boy down to 270. We still have the speed brakes out, which we're getting ready to extinguish here in a minute. All right. Slowing it down. That little blue mark, that's where we should be at the 3,000, which is on like 20 nautical miles. Alright, speed brakes are armed. And of course, let's be a little bit more. There we go. We're getting some weather here. So let's definitely make sure our icing situation is on. We're skirting the tops of these mountains, and there's a good reason why we didn't want to descend too quickly. So, okay, now it's got us descending a little bit more smartly. We've got these mountain systems right above us that we don't want to mess with. So we are flying blind, and yeah. Okay. So we are essentially going to stop our descent here because it's too risky. I need to check the MEAs here. And we're at 7,900 feet, which we're getting ready to turn over this waterway here shortly. But I'm going to do that myself just because I think I came in too low. Let's get over the waterway and hug that because I came in lower than should be. But essentially, we're almost pretty much straight to that waypoint. So we are just going to skirt over these mountains here. And we're going to keep our altitude. I'm glad I'm visual now and didn't do what I was going to do. Essentially, we can get down a whole lot lower, closer. So we're hovering right about 8,000 feet, 7,900 feet. So once we get a little closer, we will most certainly fix that up. I'm going to go look at some charts here really quick on SkyVector. And look at some terrain here. Alright, delete that. And let's paste that route in there. Okay, let me get World VFR. Okay, and this is Jaw. Yeska 6 is in there. Okay, so MEAs are... So we're looking at minimum altitudes over this mountain system. Really should be 3,000 there. 4,000, 4,600, 4,900. Looking at the highest peaks. Or you're not looking at what I'm seeing, but I'm getting ready to have to really jump into action here, so I don't have time to bring it down. But essentially, as we cross this last mountain over here, we should be good to go. So I think we can go ahead and proceed on our descent ever so softly. Alright, let's now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come back down here. I'm gonna go to our flight plan, and we are going to hit check up, and we're gonna say we want to go direct. Let's see, overfly airways, hold. Let's see here. Let's go down to this one and see if I can clear destination information. Let's go direct. Check up. Insert that. Come back up here now. And now we're back direct check up. And let's okay. Now we've got our nice little descent back in order. There's no more mountains to clear over, so thank goodness. That would have been my fault. And of course, our speed needs to come way back. Let's see. Start bringing our speed back to 230. Let's come back over here again and check our VREF. V approach is 141, folks. We're doing flaps full. Alright, folks. So we are making all concessions. We need to get our auto brake on to high. So it says auto brake armed, but we don't know exactly at what level, so we got to come down here to the wheel. And auto brake is armed to high. I'm not sure we need high. We probably do. Let's try 2. We are heavy. We'll stick with 2. And you know what? We'll do 3. Let's get ourselves stopped pretty doggone quick. Alright, so speed brake is armed, auto brake is armed. Anchorage traffic, Delta 318 is 11 nautical miles east of Jekup. Expecting runway 7 right for full stop. We'll be doing a base turn at Jekup for the next point of WeWo to line up to final for 7 right. Again, full stop, Delta 318 for Anchorage traffic. Okay. Alright, so we will have to it's not going to catch the ILS here. So I'm going to do a little bit something here just to make sure we get lined up here appropriately. So let's pull this out. We're going to stay on this course and wrap and then make our turn, and then we'll go direct to the next one. We'll do the same thing we kind of did. Now the reason why that's important is because you cannot hit this at anything less or more than a 30-degree angle, or else the ILS is going to turn you around. So as you guys can see, the conditions outside are pretty shaky out there. I'm not worried about icing on those aircraft simply because if we go over to the first officer side, we might even be able to see the field over there. Okay, it's probably way over there. It's very hazy. It's a very hazy arrival. So let's stay straight there for a second. We'll be at 4,000. We did that. ECAM approach date is inserted. nav page required. Auto brake is on. Anti-ice is required. And then, oh, we already did that. Sorry, folks. Let's go back to normal procedures. Descent, precision approach, visual approach, landing, go around after landing. So we're going to do a precision approach. Initial approach, approach phase, monitoring, manage speed. Speed brakes is required. No big deal there. Then, of course, we could go down and click the next, but again, the controls are holding that up. So then precision approach, and then we want to do final approach, and here's everything. Glide slope capture, localizer capture. Once we get that, we're good. Alright, as you see, we're just going to vector ourselves across there. So in order for us to vector correctly, I need to see it good. There we go. We're just going to do it, and then we'll... So I'm going to basically swing us around, and then we'll come back this way. Right? We're going to go down to 210. So we'll do 205. Then we'll do a nice little speed check. Let me get my approach information pulled up. Okay, ILS 7 right. And then Elias, our next waypoint, is going to be at 2,000. I'm sorry. The Wewoke should be 1,600 feet. Alright, so we're going to be over water. So we are definitely... and then we're going to switch this over. Because the next waypoint is going to be 1,600 feet. So let's get that situated. Alright. Speed check flaps 1. So we're going to get basically up here, and then I'm going to turn the heading. Let's see. If we're at 2.6, the opposite of 2.6, 270 is basically 90. So between 2.7 and 90, we'll probably get like a little northern facing turn here. So let's start doing that now. And actually, I'm going to slow it up slightly. For the turn. And let's start our descent. You can see, making a nice little turn that will be less than 30 degrees to hit that ILS. We need to continue that turn slightly. Come on. Very tricky sometimes. Okay, now as promised, watch this, folks. We're down here. We're going to hit the direct feature again. Wee woo. Insert. Now we are direct wee woo. We're going to be at the right elevation and altitude. Now we can essentially start arming that localizer.
2,500.
Localizer is armed. So now we need to go to this phase over here. And let's see, approach should already be activated. Monitor, da-da-da. Okay, so this approach has essentially been activated. Alright, folks. We're going to go ahead and slow her down to 170. Or 180 for now. Speed check, flaps 2. Yep, we should be, yeah, like I said, right at 1,600 feet. I'm glad it's not raining. Alright, and we have the speed brakes arm, no smoking seat belts, auto brake. Let's see what other little stuff we need to do here. Alright, let's look up top. Landing lights are on.
For your safety, we ask you to remain seated until the aircraft comes to a complete stop and the fasten seatbelt sign is turned off. When preparing to depart, please make sure to take all your personal belongings with you.
2000.
Attention international travelers, if you are continuing your flight, follow the signs to international transit area.
Alright, now we really have a great landing system. Now one thing we need to do is put this into the landing system. So now you see everything is becoming active. It does recognize that we are left of the actual glide slope and localizer. I'm sorry, not glide slope, but the localizer. We have our, let's see, signs on, cabin ready, landing gear down, flaps landing, spoilers arm. Well, we did the spoilers. Speed brake is armed. Let's double check down here. Speed brake is armed. Now we're just kind of waiting to capture this localizer. And the localizer is not yet to be captured here. It'll be captured at Tully. And that's where basically we start our glide slope on the way down. Okay, now localizer is captured, so now we have to come over here and hit it to this approach phase. So now we're looking for the glide slope. We got our brakes on 3. Now let's start getting that approach speed on down to 141. All right. And we're going to go ahead and go gear down. As you can see here, the doors have opened up and the gear is coming down. We'll be able to check that right here as well, folks. Doors are closed back up, gear is down. Now essentially we're going to go down to that 141 speed. Alright, and flaps are set to full, folks. Okay, folks, gear is down. Localizer's captured right here at Tull. We should be right at 1600. That's where the glide slope will come down, and then we'll come on in. I'll land it manually, and then I'll just retard on the way down. So the winds are at 5 knots. So it looks like right now we are in a pretty good profile for 7 right. Anchorage traffic Delta 318 heavy is 2.5 nautical miles from Tully, expecting landing on runway 7 right, full stop, Anchorage traffic. Alright. So you see here, as soon as we get to Tully, this little situation should come down, because that's set for 1,600 feet. Now what we have to do is, now that we have the glide slope activated, we got to set our go-around altitude. So we're going to take this, and actually, let's do this back again. Our go-around altitude is 3,000. So that's the go-around altitude. Gear is down. All right, and the needle's on its way down, folks. And we're on our way down. Autopilot is off. Oh, gotta hit it again. I don't know where you extinguish that sound, but let's not worry about it. I don't know how to extinguish that sound. Sorry, guys. Very annoying. I do apologize about that noise. I'm not quite sure how to get rid of that. It's annoying, but we gotta ignore it. So I do apologize about that noise. Alright, everything is looking good here so far. $500. Getting ready to hit our minimums. And we are landing. And we are landing.
Minimum.
And Anchorage traffic, Polar 975 heavies, right down 147 right.
70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 10.
Alright. Reversers are on. That noise is very annoying. Alright. So we have 60 knots reverse free. Alright, so thank you guys for flying along. Just to let you know, the master caution up here extinguishes that that alarm. So now essentially we're gonna roll in right over there. We should have took that gate, but I believe we're gonna see if we can park at this gate. I'm not quite sure if it's even big enough. But we're gonna give her a go. This gate actually doesn't look extremely appropriate for this, but I just chose one. It's got a little flustered with the whole alarm noise. So again, sorry about that. All right. Coming up to that second door there. All right.
terrain.